Have you guys ever had a dream that has come true? Well, I have. And there is one significant dream I'd like to talk about, and it started right here in this pathway. This particular dream, I wouldn't say has come true, but it has shaped my thinking and truly affected my existence for the past 16 to 18 years since I had it. And so, for instance, if I had a dream today about being in a car accident, I would drive cautiously for, several months, right? Just to make sure that that doesn't happen in reality. Now, how this applies to this dream is a little different. Like I said, to be quite honest, I don't necessarily even know how to interpret this dream, but I can tell you that I do feel there are a lot of applicable lessons that I have learned over time. And it all started here, at the end of this alley, this house. So this particular house right here is where the dream started. And in place of that home, there was a glass cube. And inside of the glass cube, there was a perfect square pool. Me and my girlfriend walked up into this cube, hopped in the pool. It was the most amazing feeling of ecstasy that I had ever experienced, all from getting into this pool. So I'm in there and I'm like enamored with the feeling, and I try and tell my girlfriend, I'm like, hey, you gotta hop in here too. You have to. This is something that I can't explain. And so she did. And so, normally if you're in a social setting with someone in a pool, you'd be talking to each other, etc. She immediately was immersed with such pleasurable feelings as well that we ignored one another, because all you could really focus on was how amazing it felt. Boom! Out of nowhere, a woman cloaked in gray abruptly says something. And essentially, we needed to get out of the pool. We got out of the pool, and it was the most awful, hurtful, painful feeling ever. It was like pins and needles throughout the whole body, and we were soaking and in pain. And then within an instantaneously, we were dry and no longer in pain. So we proceed through the cul-de-sac here. We get to over here, and our friends are sitting where all of these cars are. So we join our friends to hang out. There was more shrubs, and it was like almost a protective layer of shrubbery. They were all about that tall. And we decide to join them. And guess what happens? I'm right here on the edge of this plant. And right over there, in the middle of the street, appears a werewolf, absolutely huge, about the size of an extra large lion, absolutely frightening. And I'm trying to hide behind this bush, essentially hide from this animal. But no matter what I do to try and duck this animal, its eyes are set on me. I'm trying to hide from it. I step here into this walkway, and the werewolf charges me full-fledged running at me. And before it devoured me, about at that line, it leaps and transforms into a human man in a black suit and is a few feet from me. We're face to face. Barely made it out alive. And so I just walk my way right around his happy ass and proceed further on my walk. Now at this point, my friends, my girlfriend, are walking with me. Right in front of us, right up here where that stop sign is, there's a group of people, and we cannot see what's going on. Probably 50 people. We're about right here. The 50 people are all gathered in between those two homes. So as a crowd, I can hear a couple people in there. One man in particular, I don't know who else he was talking to, but I heard him, and he was like, oh, who are these faggots? Just talking hella shit. So anyway, we get into the crowd and we see what the crowd is focused on. The crowd is focused on a dog fight in between these two homes. This was no regular dog fight. This particular dog fight there were 2 pit bulls. One was your standard looking pit bull, and the other pit bull was like a blood red magenta. And it wasn't as if he was covered in blood or anything like that. It was the color of the coat and the color of the dog. It was just a magenta dog. And there's this absurd dog fight going on between these 2 homes. After seeing the dog fight, remember the guy that was talking stuff? The same guy that was talking shit turns to me, puts his hand out and shakes my hand. Genuinely tells me how thankful he was to meet me. Yeah, it was just very pleasant. The same person that was talking all that smack was the same person that turned around and was actually thankful for meeting me. And so at that point, I make my way through the crowd, and the crowd's all right here. At this point, friends and my girlfriend that I had made it into this crowd with disappeared. And I was by myself. And it was lonely. I was in a place of despair and very alone. And so I'm walking through the crowd over here, and I'm walking, and it was like every single step was like the longest, most sorrowful, most arduous step I had ever taken. I just kept at it, and I took 3 steps, and then my lady was back by my side, and I took another step, boom, and I heard a million steps behind me, and I take another step, and I heard it again. So then I had to look. So I turned around, and the 50-person crowd multiplied. It multiplied to every crevice of the neighborhood. Just started filling up into every crevice, and all you could see was seas of people down the street. And so, oddly enough, I acknowledged that, I turned back around, and I took a step, and they all took a step. And I took a step, and they all took a step. And they were following me, and that was the end of the dream. All right, so what does this dream represent? How should I interpret it? And how is it applicable for me in my life? And to be honest, I don't necessarily have all the answers, but I can say that I think I've learned a lot from this dream, and I've almost seen it manifest entirely in real life. So the transparency of the cube, I believe, was representation of me and the girlfriend at the time going from our childhood into our adolescence. And in adolescence, we were like a spectacle. We were a couple that our community around us knew. Whether it was people at school, whether it was people in our church, we were at church at the time, or in church at the time. I can't say it better than that. We were a spectacle at the time. So the transparency of the cube, I believe, is some sort of representation of that. I believe the pool is representation of good and bad actions alike that are pleasurably fulfilling. Now, how does that correlate to now? It's the same thing. I can smoke weed today and emotionally self-gratify with that behavior, and I can also go to the gym and feel just as high and fulfilled. I believe that the woman cloaked in gray was a representation of wisdom and age. And I think we became more wise and understanding and realized, or had to realize due to age, that it was time to get our shit together. And we had to get out of the pool. We had to stop constantly trying to fulfill self-gratification. And once out of the pool, it was immensely painful. Once you realize that you can't live your life trying or continuing to try and constantly feel good, you realize that it's pretty fucking hard out here, and it can be very painful. Life is at times very painful, and it's also the most beautiful thing ever. It's all about perspective at times. So That's what I believe the lady in gray represented. And on to the next part. We approached our friends hiding behind shrubbery in the court. So, those kids, those adolescents in the court were so caught up in partying and kicking it and hiding behind these bushes that they were just oblivious to the threats around them. And then there was the werewolf, the lion-sized lichen that caught its sights on me and was ready to tear me apart. And then turned into a businessman in a black suit. Mind you, he actually had sunglasses on, I believe. And he's just too cool for his own good. The transformation from an almost supernatural demon-like beast into a human being, I believe, is quite a fair representation of mankind in general. Humans are barbaric as fuck. We've proven it over and over again, and there is a disconnect between a lot of human beings that are alive and understanding that a lot of these barbaric actions and the foolish actions that we take have been inbred in us genetically since we began adapting and evolving. And I see that werewolf-like creature being no different than your average human being, yourself and myself, and we have the potential to do the most gruesome, foul things, and we're also capable of doing the most beneficial things for all humankind. I think that is, representation of what was going on there. And then we get to this part over here where we're right there where the dogfight is. And so there's actually a pool right here, right? So I'm walking over here just a few weeks ago. Necessarily gonna believe what happened. Do you remember in the dream someone walked up, we were walking up, and I didn't necessarily explain this. We were walking up and someone was talking shit about us, right? Me and the group of people that were walking up. And they proceeded to call us faggots and whatever. They were just talking stuff. You're not gonna believe what happened. A few weeks ago, I don't even know if it was a few weeks, it may have been sooner than that. I was walking past this pool and I had a hair clip in my hair, and I swear I heard someone say, "Call me a fag." And I heard a group of people kind of laughing and they called me a fag. I mean, I'm wearing a hair clip, so you can't really you would assume that dude might be a little fruity, but I don't give a fuck, and hair clips are very convenient to use. So in my younger years and in my adolescence, not even that long ago, 30 years old, if I were to have heard someone say something like that about me, it would have destroyed me. I would have been angry, I would have been hurt, and then it would have probably turned into aggressive ass anger. And I might have gone up to the pool and tried to confront someone, which is odd that part of this dream has kind of become fulfilled. It literally happened in real life. We go into the crowd as these people are talking stuff, and there is a dog fight, and there's the two dogs, your traditional terrier and then the one that was like a blood red magenta. And so this makes me think about many things, and there's a lot to consider here, but I'm going to tell you a quick story. The first time I moved out of my house as an adult, got my own spot, I got a dog. I don't know how I came across it. I believe it was a classified ad in a newspaper. That's how old I am. And it said free dog. And gosh, there's kids at the pool and they're going crazy. So I drive to Livermore, which is significantly far away from here, and I pull up to this farm, big old farm, and there's animals everywhere. It just looked like the perfect compound, like just beautiful property. Everything about it was nice, and there were gorgeous animals everywhere. And there was this one particular terrier pit bull that was absolutely stunning, and it was caged up. And so in my mind, I'm thinking there is no way that's the animal that this woman's giving away. And sure as shit, it was the animal. That was the terrier dog that she was giving away for free. First off, she tried to warn me. She said, I just don't know if you understand how much responsibility this dog is. This dog continues to chase after all of the animals on the farm. She is quite unruly, and she really needs to be leash broken. I want you to take your time to think about this, and I don't want you to take the dog today. And I was adamant about getting the dog. I said, I completely understand. I really think that this dog is for me, and I think I should take her. And so I went to PetSmart right there. I bought a leash and bought a bunch of stuffs to ensure this woman that I was very sure, kind of give her the confidence by measuring my actions and then allowing me to take the dog. So that was all she wrote. I took the dog, and she emphasized once again that the dog really needed to be leash broken. So I have this dog for years, and she was the most loyal, loving pit bull that you could ever come across. However, I never leash broke her. I would put skates on, or I'd take her on walks, and I would just let her pull me. And I never actually trained her to heel, and I never actually trained her to walk without the leash. And if she would get out of the house, she would run. And if you chased her, she would continue to run because she just thought it was fun, and she thought you were playing. And it was a total nightmare if she got out. Long story short, I had to keep her on a leash in the backyard because she would jump over the fence. I get a call at work one day, and my mother is distraught. It sounds like someone had died. She's talking about the dog. I left work immediately and drove home with my flashers on in a manner that would probably have gotten me put in prison. I drove like a madman. In the midst of my driving home, I had the worst, most negative thought I could have had. My werewolf, my barbaric werewolf came out, and I had a thought crossed my mind that I was so angry. I don't know what was going on. I was angry. It might have been the way my mom was talking to me, and I was having to deal with the dog again. And I had a thought that, well, if something happened to her, I wouldn't have to deal with the responsibility anymore. What the fuck was I thinking? When I got to the house, my brother and mother are in the backyard in fucking tears, distraught that the dog jumped over the fence and was hanging on the other side of the fence. So I jumped over thinking that she would be okay, and she was hanging this far from the ground. Her toes were touching the ground almost, and she had hung herself. I fucking broke down, and I'm just holding her. I finally, unclipped the leash, and it really hit me that she was gone when a fly landed on her eyeball, and there was no life left. Part of me had hope that she was going to be okay. I got her off the leash, and I'm holding her, and that's when it really hit me, is when the fly landed on her eye. It was a devastating day, and a lesson to be learned. Hey, Duff. How you doing, bubbies? Get smaller dogs. No. So, I don't necessarily, knowing that that happened and experiencing that really made me think about trying to make sure it didn't happen again. That the more you use a leash or constraints to try and protect something, whether it be a dog or just in life in general, relationships, your business, your kids, the very same thing that you use to protect some of the things that you hold dear can be the very thing that kills it. Learn how to let go sometimes. Teach yourself how to be off a leash. Teach your business how to thrive without you. Teach your kids how to make the right decision when you're not around. And I believe that that dogfight was partial representation of that. And I also believe, more importantly, I think the dogfight is a representation of the internal battle and the fight that we have with ourselves. And believing in ourselves that we could accomplish more, we're in a fight. And life can be one of the most beautiful fights you have, and it can also be one of the most treacherous. And when people don't have faith in you and they don't believe in you, and there are those that talk shit, you have to firmly believe in yourself enough to not waver. We're in a fight for our lives, and your number one battle is probably yourself. In the 3 steps that I had to take alone, representation of being an adult and having to do that on your own and having to take those hard steps in life to become who you want to be. It takes a long time. It's slow, it's arduous, it's painful, and it's lonely as hell. And I didn't tell my dream too well, but when my girl showed up back at my side after those 3 steps, it wasn't the same girl that I was dating at the beginning of the dream. It was a beautiful woman that had hair flowing down to her ass. And I have to say, my beautiful wife today has hair flowing down to her ass. And the crowd take a step and the crowd follows. And I believe I live this now. And I am a business and media consultant. And I make suggestions. Hey, whoa. What are you doing? She's over there growling toward the home. It's like this is manifesting. Toward the homes where the dogfight was, and there's nothing over there. Love, come here, baby. Hey. Yeah, it's not a request. It's okay, love. I believe. Hey, you're messing with the camera, you dude. Hey, relax. Come here, love. Relax. Chill out. She's still growling. I believe I'm living that today, and I don't believe that I have, a sea full of people behind me. But I believe that the few people that I do have in my life trust me enough to help them with their businesses and trust me enough to take that step and follow me. And so that about wraps up the dream. And I hope it helps you as much as it's helped me, because it has been a significant influence in my life, and I've learned a lot from it. And that's just one dream. And the crazy thing is some of this stuff comes true. It's so weird. That's how you gotta believe that there's something bigger than us. It's not just about us either. It's about us as a collective. And so I hope this helps. And that about wraps it up for the dream. What I'd really like to do is make a music video for this. Why do you do what you do? Gaze inside and tell the truth. Looking our whole lives for you. Battered and broken, we are living proof. Why can you tell all the boys and girls shouted from the roof? Would you tell the world we want a story page for page? Words written in red and set your heart ablaze.